Many people ask me, what makes my YouTube channel different from everyone else's? And my response has always been, I'm not wearing hockey pads! The Dark Knight, released in 2008 and is directed by my favorite director, Christopher Nolan, who's behind such amazing films like Memento, The Following, Insomnia, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, and Dunkirk. And this film stars Christian Bale, Morgan Freeman, Heath Ledger, Gary Oldman, Aaron Eckhart, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Morgan Freeman. And we have made it! This is episode 100 of Caleb Watches Movies!
It's a celebration.
God damn it. Just made a mess. And I thought, why not for my 100th episode? Why not fancy up the place a little bit? So now we got these kick-ass black shelves behind me, and God, they look so much better than the dirty-ass white that were back there. It looks so clean and professional. I honestly cannot believe that I have made it to this point. This YouTube channel has been a goal, it's been a dream of mine for many, many years, and last year, 2017, I finally got around to doing it, and I'm just amazed that I've gotten to this point. I love talking about movies, I love watching movies, and just digging into this whole YouTube world of editing and filming. I've just fallen in love with it. But the main thing I have to do is say thank you to every single one of you that have watched my videos, that has subscribed to my channel, that has supported me in this hobby of mine. I can't thank you enough. And you know, part of the reason why I held off on doing a YouTube channel for so long was, you know, I didn't feel like I wanted to put myself out there. Just with all of the online bullying that's happening now with several other people, which should never happen, and I was afraid that that was going to happen to me. But over this past year and a half, it's really been mainly positive support that I've received from you guys. Mostly. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this, and I am not going anywhere. I'm going to be doing this until I can't do it anymore. So if you've liked what you've seen here in the first 100 episodes, please keep on watching. You're going to love it. So as a thank you to all of you, after this video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. If you recall, my original concept for this show was for me to pick the movies that I have at random and review them on this channel. I'm going to incorporate some requests that I get from you guys, because you are just as big a part of this as I am. So at the end of this review, I'm going to be picking one at random, but please, if something comes to your mind, if you go back and watch any of my movie reviews and you think, oh, I think Caleb should review da-da-da, or if you're watching this movie and you go, oh, I think you should review this film, please comment below, and if I have it, or if I'm able to go get it, I will watch it, and I will mention your name on my next movie review. So with that being said, let's talk about The Dark Knight. So because today is episode 100 of Caleb Watches Movies, this is the last episode of my Journey to Episode 100 and Beyond series, we are talking about my favorite movie. My favorite movie of all time. And that has to be, for me, The Dark Knight. I am a huge Batman fan. I was first introduced to the character when I was a little kid. It was around like 92, 93, somewhere around there, and I stumbled upon a cartoon episode of the animated series. Probably the best animated series of all time, by the way. And I remember it was the episode called The Demon Quest, where Batman unites with Ra's al Ghul to find Robin, and then they go to the Lazarus Pit. It was awesome. And I've been a huge fan ever since. I was a huge fan of the Michael Keaton Batman films, just because, you know, those were really the only ones that we had. I grew up watching on that TV Land station the old Adam West Batman series, and I even have a soft place in my heart for the Joel Schumacher versions. Actually, out of that original four, Batman Forever is kind of my favorite of the four. I know, that's blasphemy for saying it, but I'm sticking to it. Val Kilmer at that point was my favorite Batman. Nipples and all. I don't know why this means nipples, but I guess it does. And then 2005 came around, we got Batman Begins from this guy named Christopher Nolan. And my young mind at the time thought that this was going to be a prequel to the 1989 Michael Keaton version. Oh no! No, Batman Begins takes everything we know about Batman, at least cinematically, and throws it out the window. And Christopher Nolan created this universe, this world that a Batman, or at least someone that wanted to dress up like a bat, could live in. And that film was such a breath of fresh air when it came to the superhero genre, or when it came to sequels, or to reboots for that matter. So after Batman Begins, everyone was wondering what's gonna happen in the sequel. Nothing much, just probably the greatest superhero movie of all time. It's been a year since the events of Batman begins, and Batman's grip on the neck of organized crime is getting tighter. And his grip gets so tight that the mob turns to a man they don't quite understand in the Joker, whose main goal in life is to spread chaos in the world. But on top of that, Bruce Wayne is looking for a reason to give up the Batman moniker, and he finds that in new District Attorney Harvey Dent, who shares the same passion for taking down organized crime as the Batman. And I could just keep talking and talking and talking about the plot because I love this movie so much, but I'm gonna hold it back in case any of you haven't seen it. Which really, who hasn't? And if you are one of those people that have never seen The Dark Knight before, I'm not gonna say, oh my god, where have you been? How have you not seen that movie? That's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate it when people say, how have you never seen this movie before? It's one of the greatest of all time. My response to that has always been, dude, there are thousands of movies that come out each year. It's impossible for me to see every single film that comes out, let alone go back several years and catch up on all the great films that have come out. So instead, my response to those people that tell me they've never seen The Dark Knight before, I say, I am envious of you, because now you get to see it for the first time. That's something that I never get to do again. Because I remember going to the theater, sitting down to watch The Dark Knight for the first time, and I was shaking. I was shaking. I was so excited. I was so nervous because I was thinking this film, there's no way it's going to live up to the hype. And by God, it did. But everyone was talking about this movie like it was the next best thing ever. The next Citizen Kane, the next Godfather, the next Jaws. So I'm just sitting there thinking, oh God, please at least be good. Please at least be good. And it didn't disappoint. I was engaged the entire time. It was such a wonderful psychological thriller. And that's what I take away from this film the most. This is not a superhero film. This is not a comic book film. This is just a cop thriller, a detective thriller with someone who dresses up like a bat.
Clearly has issues.
This scenario could totally happen. And that's what I love about the Dark Knight trilogy from Christopher Nolan. He took this concept of this guy who dresses up like a bat, but he puts him into the real world, and everything that he puts on him, the suit, the gadgets, the cars, the motorcycles, it's all plausible. And how Batman goes about taking down the mob is completely doable. And there are stakes in this film. People die, which is something I always want in a comic book superhero film, because it raises the stakes for me. Instead of me sitting there thinking, well, everyone is gonna make it out alive, in these films I'm thinking, no, it's possible that some of these characters won't make it to the next one. And Christopher Nolan is so great, especially when it comes to practical effects too. Almost every single thing that you see in this film was done in real life. That truck flipping on its side, that actually happened. Christian Bale standing on the side of that tower in China, that was actually going on. Yes, of course, there are certain shots where there has to be visual effects, because there's no way something like that could happen. But to his credit and to this film's credit, the majority is practical. And I'm always saying, when something is practical in a film, there's a tangibility to it that it's easier for the audience to connect to because it's actually happening on screen. So this film has amazing cinematography, amazing direction, but really this film is known for a couple of amazing performances. And you have to lead off with this. It's Heath Ledger's Joker. The man completely disappears. It's like a magic trick. He's gonna make the pencil disappear. That's a terrible Heath Ledger Joker impersonation, and I'm gonna stop right there. At least I'm gonna try to. But that performance is absolutely stunning. It's incredible. He literally loses himself in the film. When I'm watching him on screen, I'm not thinking, oh, that's Heath Ledger playing the Joker. No, I'm just thinking, well, that's the Joker. It sounds nothing like Heath Ledger. He sounds nothing like the gay cowboy that I just reviewed in the last episode, with the prosthetic makeup that he did himself, and then the clown makeup. He's unrecognizable, and you feel his presence all throughout the film, to the point where the first time you're watching it, you're like, oh, he's just gonna pop up out of nowhere. And sometimes he does. He is one of those villains that you listen to his reasoning and his drive to just upset the established order. Yes, you're gonna give me rules. Well, I'm gonna show you that your rules mean shit. I say tomorrow that a gangbanger is gonna be shot, or a truck full of soldiers is just gonna blow up. No one panics. But if I say that one little old mare will die, well, then everyone loses their minds. Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos. Oh, and you know the thing about chaos? It's fair. I love his character so much. And he's evil. You're not supposed to love him. But his philosophy makes sense. So you see why this guy, this Joker character, is fixated on this Batman figure so much. Batman only has one rule. He came into our lives. He is here to disrupt all organized crime and bring justice to all the evildoers. But the one rule that he gives himself, the one imaginable construct that he gives himself, is that he's not going to kill anyone. So when Joker sees that, when he sees someone that steps out of the normal society's laws and rules, but yet he still gives himself that rule, he just latches onto him. And I think Christian Bale is probably the best Batman to date. When I think of his characterization of both Bruce Wayne and Batman, I think his is the best. And of course, the big thing about this film that everyone gives it gripe for is Christian Bale's Batman voice. And yes, it does sound a little ridiculous in some points, but there is something about putting on a mask and inhabiting the characteristics of that character behind this mask that, I don't know, I just buy into. So if he's made the decision that whenever this mask is on, his voice gets growly and he gets all angry and physical, I buy that. And you can see those type of characteristics if you go back in history when it comes to acting. Go back to Commedia dell'arte days where you have stock characters with these masks. So when you put them on, that you had to inhabit the characters that were behind this mask. And everyone that did had to do the same thing. So with me looking at it through that lens, I love his choice. But with Christian Bale and Heath Ledger, you knew you were going to get some fantastic performances. Everyone was talking up how great Heath Ledger was going to be, and we've already seen what Christian Bale could do as Batman in Batman Begins. But what no one was talking about, and still no one really talks about when it comes to The Dark Knight, is the incredible performance from Harvey Dent, played by Aaron Eckhart. I think the dude steals the movie. His character arc throughout this entire thing is... it's really heartbreaking to see, because you're seeing someone start out so noble and so righteous and so right-doing in everything that he's done, only to see him deteriorate throughout the entire film. And I think Aaron Eckhart plays it beautifully. A lot of people give this film gripe because they think that this film introduced the villain of Two-Face too early, which I've never understood, because I've always viewed The Dark Knight as it's Harvey Dent's story. He is our protagonist. He's the one that all of these opposing forces are trying to change. That's the opposing force of the Joker and the opposing force of Batman. You have Batman, who's the all-right, he is the good one. We have Joker, who's chaotically evil. So both of these forces are just tearing apart at this man, Harvey Dent, to see which side he goes to. So I think in the whole arc of this entire movie, instead of taking that character and shoving him into a third one, you gotta complete the story here, which is what they do, and I love it. His performance is so subtle and so genuine too. Plus the visual effects of when he does get burned and becomes Two-Face is... it's pretty gruesome and very believable. Not that purple shit from Batman Forever, which I did say was my favorite Batman film from that original four. I'm gonna eat it for that one in the comments. And the supporting cast from this film is also great. Whenever Morgan Freeman's on the screen, it's an absolute delight. Michael Caine is the best Alfred we'd never had. And I love that they talk about the time when he was not the butler for the Waynes. When he was out in Burma, and they were burning down the forest to get their little rubies because someone was throwing them out in the woods. And then Maggie Gyllenhaal is here replacing Katie Holmes as Rachel. Rachel! Which should have been the original choice. I never got Katie Holmes at all in Batman Begins. Maggie Gyllenhaal, I feel, as like an aesthetic look, looks much better in this film than Katie Holmes ever did. She's not hogging the spotlight like Katie Holmes. I love everything about this movie. That cinematography and the opening scene that introduces us to the Joker is absolutely mind-blowing. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The angles that they get, the scenery that they get, the IMAX cameras that they're using, it's incredible. And plus that Joker's theme music that plays, that Hans Zimmer created. Just those two violins playing those really high notes that aren't really supposed to go together. It kind of sounds like a baby screaming. And it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until finally the Joker comes out. And then it's the signature note of Hans Zimmer. Just, again, everything. The action, the script, the cinematography. This film is obviously my favorite. Is it the greatest film of all time? I think that's an impossible question to answer, because that is really a subjective question. But I do believe it belongs in the conversation of, Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, Citizen Kane, The Godfather, Jaws, all those films, this belongs right up there with them. And everyone loved this movie when it came out. Everyone. It did over $1 billion, which is something that rarely happened back then. So when it came around to Oscar season that next year and all the films from 2008 were being nominated, it was a frickin' crime that this film was not at least nominated for Best Picture. Yes, it won the Oscar for Best Sound Editing and Best Supporting Actor for Heath Ledger, definitely deserved, but not even a nomination for Best Picture? I'm sorry, this was the best film of that year. But the films that were nominated over The Dark Knight, we got The Reader, good film. Milk, okay. Curious Case of Benjamin Button, I really liked. Frost Nixon, I love that movie. But the one that won was Slumdog Millionaire? Bullshit! The Wrestler was better than Slumdog Millionaire, and that's another one that wasn't nominated that year. But that was so controversial back in 2008 that the next year, they doubled the amount of Best Picture nominees to 10. And every year since then, there have been at least 8, 9, or 10 films nominated, all because films like The Dark Knight did not in 2008. And of course, the Academy is going to play it off like, oh, gives a better opportunity for films that wouldn't be nominated to be nominated. Bullshit. You got a ton of hate mail because you didn't nominate The Dark Knight, and it should have been nominated and should have won. I can blow smoke up this film's ass all day long, and I would be happy to. But talking about The Dark Knight, watching it again for this review, I started thinking to myself, this film coming out was probably the greatest and probably one of the worst things to happen to the superhero comic book genre. Because so far, this is the peak. Nothing has come close since 2008. There have been other great superhero films, but when it comes to thinking, oh, what's the best one? It's always been The Dark Knight. So I think, at least in regards when it comes to the DC films, whenever a Batman is in a movie, I think it always gets compared to The Dark Knight. Unfairly, I think. Okay, yeah, that was good, but wasn't no Dark Knight. But a film doesn't have to be as good as The Dark Knight is. A film just has to be good. Sorry, you're not gonna make another Dark Knight, so your goal should be just to make a really solid film. Which, personally, I think DC has done, but I'm definitely in the minority on that one. Oh yes, I really liked Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I'm an island. So saying that The Dark Knight is the best superhero film of all time is accurate in my statement, but it doesn't mean that we have to compare every single one that comes out to it. There was another great film that came out in 2008 called Iron Man that launched this 10-year empire called the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that was an amazing film as well. So again, I think we should stop comparing everything to everything when it comes to the genre. Let's just sit down and watch them and say, is this a good film or is it not? Well guys, in the end, The Dark Knight again is my favorite film of all time. Aaron Eckhart is my favorite part of the film, actually. You get amazing, stellar, just mind-blowing performances from Heath Ledger's Joker, and Christian Bale does a great job of escalating his character from the first one, Batman Begins. This is a great escalation in a great trilogy, and I'll say it right now, the Dark Knight trilogy is my favorite trilogy of all time. I went back and watched all 3 of them for this review, and that mindset that I have still stands. Yes, I like The Dark Knight Rises. I really do. So sue me.
That's right. I can watch The Dark Knight Rises as much as I watched the first 2. What are you going to say about that?
Guys, if you haven't seen The Dark Knight, you don't have to go back and see Batman Begins. Well, the great thing about this movie is that it's really its own story. It has a beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't set up a sequel at all. But I think that's what I like about all of these films in the Dark Knight trilogy. Every single one is its own thing. And when I go into a movie, yeah, sure, it's nice to be teased for the next one to come out, but it's also nice to have a complete story, which this film does. It has a complete story with amazing visuals, amazing cinematography. The music of the film is fantastic, and you're doing yourself a disservice if you've never seen this. Even if you're not into the superhero genre at all, you will still get a kick out of this movie. I guarantee it. So guys, obviously, The Dark Knight is gonna get 5 out of 5 Blu-rays. Oh God, we made it. That was a long series. 30 days of my favorite this, my favorite that, my least favorite this, my least favorite that, the first movie I saw in theaters, a movie that I used to love but now I hate. I'm really excited to get back to my original format, which at the end of all my videos, I picked which movie at random that I was going to be reviewing next. So you know what? Well, let's take a look, shall we? Or go fuck yourself. Winner of Best Picture in 2012, I believe. Or at least it came out in 2012, but it won it in 2013. You know, semantics. But what a great film from director Ben Affleck. Speaking of Batman, this dealt with those survivors from the US Embassy in Tehran. This was during, I believe, the 70s, I think, sometime. And our Central Intelligence thought, well, the best way to get them out would to create a fake film studio and a fake film called Argo that we were shooting. We were gonna get over there. We were gonna get them out because they were gonna be our film crew. Yeah, at least I think that's how it went. But every time I go back and see this movie, my heart rate just shoots through the roof. And I'm excited to watch it again for this channel. Oh, I'm so excited to be back to doing this. So everyone, have you seen The Dark Knight? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this channel, how awesome is that? Please comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And when you're done commenting, please like and subscribe to my channel so you know the next time I'm posting my next movie review. And if you have a film request that you really want me to watch and review on here, please leave it below and I will mention you the next time if I choose it. So everyone, I will see you next time for my movie review of Argo. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.